Excuse me. As we're waiting for people to pop in, whether you are joining us live or whether you're watching in replay, welcome to the wonderful world of Generation X, that basically hour where we get together every Sunday night in the former time slot, usually reserved for the wonderful world of Disney. Back when, as kids, young Gen Xers would sit crisscross applesauce, Indian style, as we called it back then, on the floor mere inches away from our Magnavox, our Zenith, our RCAs, our televisions, which were seemingly impossible to steal because they weighed 3,000 pounds. But instead of sitting alone in front of our televisions, we're coming home together as Gen Xers here online. I see people beginning to come in. Kristen, Marie, Cindy, Stacy, Michelle, Val. How is everybody? Tammy, Elaine, Deborah, Steve. Good to see you over on Facebook. Jared Talks. Hey, how you doing, Rory? Dylan Mackey's in the house. How are you, buddy? Commit 7 and 2. I hear you. Bill, Laura, Jody, Lori. Howdy, 80. Sarah, how are you? Dylan. Speaking of Sarah's, have we got... it's not speaking of Sarah's. I misspoke. Speaking of Sheila's, do we have Sheila Burned Bugs in the house yet? Because we have a twofer, a two-peat, a two-time winner on our trivia challenge. Hey, Mrs. Gearhart, how are you? Nancy, good to see you. Katie Jane, my friend, how are you? Doreen. Hey, Michelle Gurin, if I'm pronouncing your name right. BJ, how are you? Sarah Rubin, how are you? Big thumbs up. What's going on? Sheila is gone 2 for 2 on our Gen X trivia quiz. So I'm kind of mixing things up. I just posted on Facebook. You guys can click right through to join this week's game. It just went live, and we're doing all 90s. We're picking the grungiest decade of all time and seeing how many of y'all remember the 90s, which to Gen Xers feels like maybe it was yesterday, at most 10 years ago, but as we all know, over 30 years ago. Crazy. Go ahead and give it a shot. Jump in after this episode, and we'll see how things are going. Hey, hot chick, how are you? Yes, we saw Wirehead back in the house on Friday. What's up? Reporting in from Valparaiso. I probably butchered that, Indiana. Good to see you, Dale. Hey, Stacy, good to see you. My buddy Chris Austin that I went to school with back in the day. How are you, buddy? Deb German, good to see you. Kevin, my buddy. Kevin, you did all right on our trivia challenge. I think you were right behind me in 4th or 5th place. What's going on, Wirehead? Good. Yeah, if you miss one question, guys, people are pretty damn quick on that thing. But what's funny is I don't get to see the questions any more than you guys do before I play. I tell Trivia Crack to pick the topic that I want, and as I said, this week I'm doing just 90s. Next week we'll go 60s, 70s, 80s, full general knowledge. But let's see how it goes. Good to see you, Chris, man. Hope all is well. So we've got a couple hundred people, both platforms combined. Charles, sorry to hear about your Dolphins, man, but the Finns put up a fight. Charleston, Indiana. Karina coming in from Idaho. How are you? Nashville's in the house. How you doing, Jim? I might not be on line long. Sorry to hear that, Deb. You take care of you. That's the most important thing. We'll be here when you feel better. 3 dots on the top. It gives you a chance. Thumbs up the live. Thank you so much for that, hot chick. Everybody seems to be doing well. All the familiar faces are coming in. I see a few new faces. Lori says has not had time to play last couple weeks. I love it, though. I just have fun with it. And I know a lot of you guys will get on the platform and you'll challenge me in individual games. Just realize I'm doing my level best to play back with y'all. I'm just a little outnumbered. But I love it. I like that. And there's new news coming. I've actually got a call with Trivia Crack tomorrow. And they may be building out an actual challenge, not a challenge, an actual channel for us. And what that means is you'd be able to go on Trivia Crack, even when there's not a game scheduled, and just play Gen X trivia. Because we will carve out a space within the app that's all about Gen X trivia. And it doesn't have to be part of our weekly challenge. It's literally just going to be a channel. They're building us a social media channel on there. And once you join that channel, you can begin to start talking with other people on the channel. YouTube is a mess. I'm being told that Facebook is glitching a little bit as well. Hopefully you no, it's I see what you're saying. You jumped over from YouTube. Hopefully it'll catch up. It's just because people are jumping on right now. When too many people jump on at one time, it glitches a little bit. It, it should settle. Sorry to hear that, Bill. Some days YouTube is better, some days it's Facebook. It's why I try to use both platforms at the same time, which from logistically, if you guys could see how I do it on this end, it's not a lot of fun. But I make it work. GenX Goonie is in the house. How are you, Andrew? Eli's telling me it's okay over on YouTube right now. JTR Serial Killer, good to see you, brother. Serial with Cereal, if anybody's wondering. So what are we going to talk about today? Sunny Mac says, where's good old Radio Shack when you need it? Didn't Radio Shack come back for like a minute? Does anybody have one near where they live? I remember they had that iconic commercial with like every 80s era star was on it. It was the guys from Chips. It was Hulk Hogan in there. It was Chucky even. Hey, what's going on, Deidre? Good to see you. Beth letting me know that glitching is bitching. There are a few around. What is Radio Shack? Quantum wave pattern. Are you killing me? Are you killing me? Circuit City. So many stores. So where I'm at right now, they're filming a movie called Roofman. And it is a Magic Mike production. What was his name? Channing Tatum is in it. And it's a story of a guy who escapes prison and sleeps in a Toys R Us store overnight. And he begins to hide there. And I guess he sleeps there for a while. I don't really know the story very well, but it was like our childhood dreams come true. Do you remember just thinking how amazing it would be to be able to spend the night in a mall growing up or to spend the night in a toy store? This guy literally did that. And so they're filming here in the Charlotte area, and there is a Toys R Us that was abandoned, closed down. And in the past few years, it's basically been a spirit Halloween 1 month out of the year. They brought it back. They refurbished it. They painted it, but they put the sign up. They stocked it. They've created a Toys R Us. And I got to tell you, I've driven by a couple times now. I took some pictures over there. Yes, Hot Chick, it is a true story. I want to get in there so badly. But how many stores did we let go out of business? Whether not us individually, but as a collective, Amazon came along, convenience overtook experience. Places like Toys R Us. Somebody mentioned Circuit City. I remember Lionel Kitty City. There was Circuit City. There was a computer something. KB Toys. Oh, I tried to get a spot as an extra, Kevin. So far, I have not heard back from them. Doreen mentioned KB Toys. Kevin said Sam Goody. Deborah, just recently, Kmart, JCPenney, Payless. We're losing all the effect. Netflix took out Blockbuster. Well, I think the Redbox really started in because when Netflix was competing with Blockbuster was kind of doing the same thing as Netflix. At that time, you could mail in, which was what Netflix was doing. But Redbox was more convenient than both. So Redbox really came close to taking both out. But the technological jump that Netflix was able to take and stream to us, CompUSA, good one. Ames, good one. But yeah, now Redbox is going under. Musicland. David says Redbox went away in my town just recently. Yeah. Because let's be honest, the original Netflix platform that Blockbuster emulated, I had the same. I was on a plan where I could have two DVDs at a time, and you wouldn't get late fees. You just couldn't get another DVD until you sent back the first ones. I had the same damn DVDs for like 3 weeks and never watched it. You went to school in New York. Yes, I did. So I do remember Ames. I do remember Woolworth. In Buffalo, we had a Gold Circle. That's long since gone. TG and Y, Blockbuster. I still want to go. So there was a rumor that the last Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon is going away. I actually got sucked into it. I posted it for a minute, Kitty City. But it turned out to be a rumor. They're not going anywhere. I need 2 things I want to visit in Oregon. One is the Blockbuster video store. I've got to get out there. And number 2, the owner of the Goonies house. He actually bought the house that the Goonies was filmed at, has invited me to come out and visit. So if I can get out there at some point soon, 2 really good reasons to get out that way. Peaches Records, I don't remember. Yes, sir, Tim. How are you? DVD players killed VHS tapes. Irish, but that's the thing. Our generation, very old, the oldest Gen Xers, we started, I remember the huge stereo cabinet, right? And inside we had the turntable, I had a radio, and we had an 8 track in ours. So my earliest memories are vinyl and 8 tracks. Then came the cassette tape. Then I replaced them, and most of my albums, most of my records, most of my albums, I guess I should say, my collection was mostly tapes growing up. I had a lot of tapes. And then I converted my tapes slowly over time to CDs. And we did the same thing with our VHS to DVD. But are we done? Rory says, "Do you remember the big blue disc players?" I didn't. I didn't fall into any of the other stuff. But like, are we done now? The fact that we're streaming means that hopefully we don't need to buy anything ever again. Although I will say, I don't trust, and this is as political as you're ever going to hear me get. I don't trust society today to allow movies to be. It's only a matter of time before Blazing Saddles streaming is not going to be Blazing Saddles as it was. So I needed to own it. So I went and bought the DVD of Blazing Saddles. It's only a matter of time. I truly believe that those people with the best of intentions are going to limit some of the things that they find are too problematic to be allowed to exist. And I want to own them. Laser discs, 2 or 3 record-sized discs per. I think you had to flip them too. Kmart's last store just closed. Thank you so much, Bonesy. I appreciate it. My mom used to buy VHS tapes in the mid 80s. Oh, I remember when a movie first came out on VHS. Like, I remember in 1989, Batman came out right before Christmas, and I wanted to own the VHS. I'm pretty sure I paid like $50 for it. And then, of course, they would drop down to like $9.99. But the only exception to the rule was if you lost a movie that you had rented from Blockbuster. Do you guys remember? I'll put it to you guys. Who remembers ever losing a movie and having to buy it from Blockbuster? Do you remember how expensive that was? Disney, yep, we're like $34.99. And Disney was smart. They would release them from the vault. And you can only buy them at a time for a certain length of time. Yeah, Kristen, exactly. $200, $100. It was ridiculous what they tried to get away with charging us. As much as I love Jeffrey Thomas coming in at 90, I think that was the least I had to pay for one. But listen, as much as I have this nostalgic regard for Blockbuster today, back in the day, they did me dirty a lot. I remember paying something like $50 in late fees for like Barbed Wire, the Pamela Anderson flick that probably never even got into my house. I think I drove around with it in my car, thinking it was there. And then just did the walk of shame into Blockbuster Video, presented it to them, and paid my $50 in fines. Streaming services are the edited version of ET, where the G-men are smoking cigarettes instead of pointing guns at Elliot. That's what I mean. That's why I want to own my stuff. Stupid $5 rewind charge. Val says, I worked at a video store in the early 80s. The original release of Dirty Dancing was $90. Becky Lockwood says, I remember going to the Disney store and they would add a lithograph to the movie when you bought their DVD. That's pretty cool. Hey, Ted from Central California. Good to see you. Hey, Derek from Detroit. Good to see you. Yeah. Those fines were ridiculous. Once you were owed a fine, like if I didn't have the money to walk in and physically do the walk of shame and pay my fine, I'd go outside and drop it in their Dropbox. And since I owed them $30, that meant for the time being, anytime I wanted to rent a movie, I'd have to go to Hollywood. What was it called? Hollywood Video. So we would have one of two. I think there was a Movies Plus as well. So I would rotate between Blockbuster, Movies Plus, and Hollywood Video, depending on who I owed money to at the time. Was the rewind fee really $5? I think it really was. First video in our area was over $100 just for membership for the video stores. Hollywood Video was great. Hey, Dee Dee from Alberta, Canada. And then, of course, we had like the local. Like if you're in a small town, you have Blockbuster or Hollywood or Movies Plus. You just had the everyday everyday local owned mom and pop video store. But the benefit to that was in the back, there would always be like the saloon doors or the beads dropping from the ceiling at a door. And we all knew what was on the other side of that. David says we never had Blockbuster. Indie video stores. See, exactly. Rob says he liked the small independent movie stores. Rogers Videos, $50 to join. Our local shop had 50-cent rewind fee. Captain Video and a tanning salon. We had the mom and pop one, says Eli. Boozy says I was on the other side of that, meaning on the other side of the saloon doors. Good evening, Dawn. How are you? From the Buffalo News store. I miss reading the Buffalo News. And the funniest part about those saloon doors is you'd be in there trying to rent, I don't know, to somebody's point, The Little Mermaid or something, or it was Halloween, it was spooky season, and we were there to rent some scary movies, and you would look up, and coming out of those saloon doors, you would lock eyes with your science teacher, and you'd be like, holy shit, Mr. Savage was just in there buying a porno, renting a porno, and that was just an uncomfortable moment. You're like, why wouldn't you drive 30 minutes outside of town to go to the next town over to get those kind of movies? But every once in a while it would happen. Convenience stores had video rentals. Yeah, everybody got in on it. Baltimore Ravens won 41-10 today. That must have been, yeah, I did see the game was on the same time as the Bills. I was going back and forth. Dreamweaver says we had what was called Eastside Arcade. It was not an arcade, but a movie store. Well, and then that was the other thing to transition. Hey, Mary Cherry Jarvis, how are you? There were movies, there was convenience stores that had movies in them. There were gas stations that had movies in them. And likewise, when it came to video games when we were growing up, you found them everywhere too. We owned a diner, not an arcade, but we had one video game that was always present in our diner. And it would rotate out. The guy would come and he's like, okay, this game's kind of dying down now. And he'd take out Frogger and he'd put in Pac-Man. He would take out Pac-Man, he'd put in Asteroids Deluxe. Dig Dug was in there at one time. Burger Time was in there at one time. The strangest game I remember was a version of Donkey Kong, but instead of Mario and Donkey Kong, it was Popeye and Bluto, whatever his name was. And instead of the princess being captured, it was olive oil. It's the weirdest thing. And I keep meaning to look up online if it was just a fever dream of mine or if it was real. But out there somewhere was a very Donkey Kong version of Popeye. And I could be crazy, but I'm 99% sure it's a real memory. I could be wrong. Bluto. Tryouts is telling me it was real. True's telling me it was real. All right. Popeye was a game and it was on NES too. I don't know how they got away. It was so much. It literally, you're walking up just like you walk up on Donkey Kong. One of them copied the other. Bluto. Yep. Show me your room. You're looking at it. Did you ever see the Journey video game? I didn't, Sue Ditmore. It sounds interesting. We have to look it up. Deborah Mott says, I have it. It's real. Nintendo put it out on cartridge. Elena says, you do have gorgeous blue eyeballs. Why, thank you. They're useless. They're pretty, but they're pretty useless. I'm about as blind as a person gets without being legally blind, but thank God for contact lenses. What's going on, Aaron? Good to see you. Bluto, Popeye, and olive oil. Yes, Irish, thanks for the correction. Local diner near me had the game Contra. I remember that game. I wish that Miami Buffalo game wasn't real today. I got to tell you, I don't know how else to put it. James Kubert was brutal for me. Literally just would fall off the pyramid every time. I could never get the hang of how to jump down. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. Hey, Noel. Anybody remember Kubert? We were just talking about it. I should drink the MD 2020. You know, I keep forgetting to chill it. Maybe next week. I'm just really afraid of drinking it warm. But I mean, how bad can this hurt? It's a small bottle. It's tiny. 13% alcohol by volume. Did you notice that it dropped? The reason it was called MD 2020 is it used to be 20 ounces of liquor that was 20% alcohol. And now they dropped it for the week down to 13%. So this can't possibly hurt me. Lena says, no, please don't die. I don't know. I'm very, very curious. Well, what's going on, Michigan? Life above the 45th. Don't do it. It ain't worth it. How bad could it be? Well, I don't know. We're going to think about it. The Everclear is going to stay there for posterity. That one I'm not touching. Do it Thanksgiving week. Maybe that's not a bad idea. 20% is what it was in the 90s. Dude, I just did a video. I don't know how many of y'all remember Cisco. I did a video yesterday because somebody asked me to talk about Cisco, which was another version of what we affectionately referred to as bum wine. Now, I know bum isn't a term that is politically correct anymore, but considering we're just among friends and we don't easily offend, I'm going to continue to use it anyway. But yeah, but it was another form of bum wine that a lot of people like Cindy Buckner just mentioned over on YouTube was called liquid crack. It's god awful. It came in these synthetic tasting berry flavors. People, I'm like, what does it taste like? It tastes like peer pressure and fermented regret. It was horrible, but it was cheap. And I always joke that we were able to, even in late middle school, even as like freshmen in high school when we were young, we could afford to buy like 2 bottles and still let the bum that bought us the liquor free for his trouble. Because although I had a full-grown beard by about 14 and could get away with not being ID'd as long as I went far enough away from my hometown, a lot of us needed to count on the goodwill of vagrants in order to get our hands on liquor. So that was easy to get to. Damn, baby, you're looking good. You've been working out. Thank you, Darla. I've been working out a lot, those that follow my page. I hope you'll join me in that. It's starting to feel pretty good. Good old days, thank God, no cell phones or social media. You know, Dreamweaver, we keep saying that, but I would kill, well, not kill, but maim, to have just some evidence of my 20s. So when I was young, my parents took pictures. I've got photo albums, especially, the oldest always had a lot of pictures. The middle kid had some. Baby had a lot because they were the baby. I'm the middle, so I only had some. But once I graduated high school and moved out of the house, my 20s, there was always one girl that would always bring a camera on big nights when we go out. Every friend group had that girl that would be like, come on, let me take pictures. Everybody get together for pictures. Presented it at the time. Now I would give almost anything to find her and see if she has any pictures left. Because I have next to no pictures. We talk about our childhood not being documented. Our childhood actually was relatively well documented for a lot of us. We all have pictures in front of the TV, pictures in front of the Christmas tree, pictures in front of the stairs. We all have the same pictures. I just shared a ton of Halloween pictures that you guys sent my way on Halloween night. And as I'm looking through it, I felt like I was looking at my Halloween pictures. We have the same Halloween pictures. Shannon says she was that girl. Our childhoods were kind of documented. Our misspent youth of our 20s, none of us. Very few of us have any pictures of ourselves in our 20s. And I kind of want those pictures, hot chick, I don't want them available for public consumption. The statute of limitations is probably not yet expired, but I do want them. It would be nice to have them. Maybe not share them. Tammy Lane says, I was the camera girl in our group. I'm seeing a lot of those comments. There was one. We all had the same friend group. The reason I think Friends was so popular as a sitcom among us Gen Xers and later millennials is it was really good at picking apart the different people we all had in our friends groups. But we all had that girl. My childhood never was third and final child and no photos. Yeah, sometimes the middle child got less, sometimes the baby got less. I remember my older brother had an entire album that was dedicated to him and then half of another. My baby album is the second half of his album. And then actually, if I'm being honest, so my little brother, the baby, they still have photos, but not just of them. So they're just happen to be in the pictures with the rest of us. Miana says, I have lots of pictures from my 20s, got married at 23. Well, that would do it. Leanne says she has a few. Dreamweaver says I had 2 kids in my 20s. And I think that's the difference. Irish Lover says I'm a Joey. I don't know who I'd be. I think I am a mix. I don't think I'm definitely not Joey. I'd like to think I'm Chandler, not necessarily the way that ended for him, the Matthew Perry, I mean. Possibly Chandler, maybe a little bit of Ross. Definitely not. Too young, married at 22. Yeah, my 20s were, I got married at 32. And for me, it was perfect because my 20s were that period of time when I was no longer directly tied to my nuclear family that I grew up with, but I had not yet started my own. It really was a quintessential discovery time. Happy birthday, Ben. Thanks, I appreciate it, Jesse. Go Bengals. Uh, I was 3 out of 4 pictures of myself. Andrew says still have my baby pictures. Joined the military at 18. That'll change things. Got married at 19. Shelly says had a very small friend group. Yeah, the whole frontal cortex thing, I can agree with that. I'm pretty sure my frontal cortex did not develop pre-25 by any semblance of any stretch of imagination. A lot of you guys got married early. 20s. Moly. 23, divorced at 32. Well, sorry. Aaron says, I make the internet a better place to be. I don't do it alone. You guys are a huge part of that. I barely have to police anything I put out there. And from different people that I talk to and different things that I read when it comes to content creation, when it comes to influencers, when it comes to making content that is open and people are allowed to comment on it, the people that I have in my circle, in my community, in my universe online, you guys are a rare breed. Very little fighting going on in the comments, very little bullying, very little meanness. And hopefully that's a Gen X thing. But our community is a much nicer place to be as a corner of the internet when compared to other places I visit. Let's put it that way. Kevin Pierpont says, 21 frying pan broken over my head. Well, you must be buying high-grade frying pans that don't break. Dee Dee says, we don't care. Hey, Sally Ann, good to see you. We are Gen X. Yeah, we are. 47, never married. Married at 26, divorced at 28. Married at 34, divorced at 30 for Jennifer. At 50, my apologies. Everybody's story is different. And yet there's a lot of commonality as well. Hokey puts it perfectly. Gen Xers are nice until we aren't. I'd like to think that we're nice until you make us have to not be nice. It's kind of the Patrick Swayze, be nice until I tell you not to be nice. Well, how will we know it's not? Be nice until it's time not to be nice. Well, how will we know it's time not to be nice? I'll let you know. Too tired to fight? I don't know about that, Steve. I think the most tired of us Gen Xers, if given a good enough get up and fight. Say put our family at risk, put our good friends at risk. You might be able to get away with knocking us down. But we don't suffer the ignorance of bullies very well. You go after somebody that we care about, yeah. You know, Elisa says we show respect until you prove you don't deserve it. There was a shift in that. I see a lot of people saying you don't get my respect until you've earned it. We grew up giving people, especially elders, you automatically got our respect. That was what was considered good manners. Now you could lose that respect, but it was given until lost. People didn't have to earn each other's respect. They just had to make, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that theory. Kristen says I put up with a lot until I snap. Very few things get me to snap today, but I will tell you one thing I'm losing all patience for, and that's rudeness. I don't know. People have gotten this entitlement in them, and I'm not talking kids. I'm talking people of all ages. This entitlement in stores, in restaurants, in public places where they can just be asshats. They can be mean to one another. They can just be rude for no reason, and it just pisses me off. I'm this close to just handing out free throat punches, just to see. I mean, will that snap them out of it? Yes, Heather. I hate using the word Karens because I know a lot of really amazing Karens, so I try not to use that word. See, in Dreamweaver, I agree. Trust is earned, not given. Although I'm pretty trusting too, so I don't know. Trust can be lost, but I see where you're coming from on that. But if you're a person in my life and you ask me to trust you, unless you give me a reason not to, I'm probably going to fall for it. I'm probably going to trust you. More to Wirehead's point, I fall into Reagan's camp of trust but verify. It's just the world I live in. I feel better for it, and I've gotten burned plenty of times, but I don't think I'm about to change anytime soon. I just tend to trust. Many times bitten, boozy, still haven't gotten shy. Dee Dee says I trust way too much and is due to my friend group. Yeah, I guess that's a big part of it. Kristen Rhodes says we've lost patience because everyone is in such a hurry. So when you can get everything so quickly, right? In some towns, Amazon will get you your stuff the same day. Target will give you your stuff the same day. When you can download and watch a movie a week after it's been in the theaters like that, when we can see any movie made in the history of the world like that, when we can listen to any song we want like that, when everything is on demand, maybe that's what creates that entitlement. Whereas we had to wait for stuff. And I hate to sound like, well, back in my day, but we did. We waited a lot. We waited for the commercials to be over. We waited for the one time a year Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was going to be on TV. We waited for the cliffhanger to find out JR. We waited and waited. We waited for the news report to be done to send us back to our regularly scheduled programming, sometimes already in progress. And what that meant was just a really nice way of telling us, sorry about your luck, but the show's over. And Walter Cronkite talked during all of it. So it taught us patience. Plus, we had manners beaten into us. That was a big deal. We waited for dial-up, says Dreamweaver. What else did we wait for? We waited for the busy signal to end, to be able to call our friend, and could only talk to one friend at a time. No party line, unless it was the party line that meant you picked up the phone and somebody else was on it and you had to wait again for your turn on it. Waited for stock prices in the paper each day. If you were a fantasy football fan like I was in the early 90s, late 80s, you had to wait for the paper to come up to calculate the scores by hand using USA Today. Waited for mom to get off the phone. Yeah, well, that was a big one. Waiting for our parents to do anything, because here's a flip, and I'm guilty of it. If my kids need something, I am guilty of thinking of them before thinking of myself. Our parents did not give us that modicum of whatever the word I'm looking for is. Their needs came first. Kids sat on the floor, adults sat on the couch. Adults got the best of everything. The adults got the big table, the kids got the kid table. Things have flipped. And again, I'm partly guilty of it, because I remember my parents would get together on my birthday. So my earliest birthdays that I see pictures of, you know what's missing? Kids. Because there weren't, unless they were my parents' friends' kids that they brought, my birthday was an excuse for the adults to get together. Us kids were either shoved into the basement or relegated to clearing ashtrays and helping replace drinks. It wasn't about us, even when it was supposed to be about us. Seen and not heard, says Elisa. Carrie says the kids were the remotes. We ate what was served, says Heather. And we did. Debbie's confirmed. We always sat on the floor. That was our spot. And if we were on the couch and an adult came in, if we had to be asked, we got smacked. The minute an adult came in the room, we got up. We didn't offer our opinions unless they were asked for, and they weren't asked for. No, I totally got what you were saying. Compliments are very well appreciated. Thank you so much. I totally know the difference between being hit on and being paid a compliment. Mostly because I'm no longer at the age where I'm hit on, but I still appreciate compliments. Hey, Sarah, we didn't question our parents' decisions. No, because we found out that was a bad idea. Sorry about losing audio. True, I don't control that. I'm sorry. Asked to be excused from the table. That was a thing. I couldn't leave until I cleared my plate. Our feelings weren't asked about either. I'm thinking about doing this video. I'm relatively sure I did video. I did do it. Our parents live much harder lives than we do. For a lot of us. Me, my parents immigrated to the States from Greece. My dad was early silent gen. My mom was a very early baby boomer. They had 19 years between them. They had hard lives growing up. My dad grew up in a part of the Ukraine that was colonized by Greeks. And for generations, Greeks lived there, Novorossiysk on the Black Sea. All Greeks, Greek churches, Greek schools, but it was in the former USSR. Stalin came along one day and said, no, I've had enough of this. You guys are going to become part of the USSR, renounce your Greek citizenship. Long story short, my grandfather thought, no, I'm not going to do that. So one night they came and got him. My dad lost his dad at 11 years old, woke up in the middle of the night and saw his father being dragged off to a camp. That was the end of it. My mom went into the kitchen at the age of 12 and found her mother dead on the floor of an apparent aneurysm, we're guessing. They were poor. They were poor in a way back in the 40s that we don't really understand today as a culture. I'm talking no shoes on your feet poor. So when I came home complaining about my feelings to my parents, not because they didn't care or love me, it was difficult for them to have empathy for me crying about not making the soccer team. They had a hard time me talking about the fact that they were being mean because they wanted me to finish my dinner. My mom's like, I'm being mean making you eat food? We didn't have food. And I didn't have a mother to give me the food. And the worst part of it is she was neither exaggerating nor lying. So we were raised by adults that had really, really hard lives. Ukraine was part Greek. I had no idea. My dad was Ukrainian. Yeah, Novorossiysk, there's an area along the Black Sea, Eli, that was at one time it was part of the Greek Empire, and then generations and generations later, the Greeks remained. And they just kept their citizenship, even though they were born in the Ukraine. So yeah, our parents didn't suffer our pain very well. We were told, don't think about it. Just ignore it. Because that's how they got through it. Sarah says they knew life was hard and wanted to make it through. We stuffed those feelings down and kept going. Smash that like button. Thank you, hot chick. Guys, keep hitting likes. I appreciate it. Keep sharing it. Thank you. It was hardcore, man, but they didn't get mad by it. But when you had parents, if they were as old as mine, that got through, I don't know, World War II or the Great Depression, it doesn't really compare. And then today, our experience compared to our kids is different, but it's not quite the same. Okay. My dad had to suffer through the Italian occupation of Greece during World War II. I had to look through a card catalog in order to do a book report. Not the same, but to our kids, if our kids were forced to figure out the Dewey Decimal System, then that would be a trial for them. Just a little different. Angelique says she had her grandfather in Germany had a drag. Yeah, it's atrocities, man. Story was really interesting. I might subscribe. I'd love to have you subscribe, Jackson. We all have a lot of those stories. Younger Gen Xers have parents that went through Vietnam. Some Gen Xers themselves served in Iraq. There's stories, but I think the stories change over time. Hopefully, none of us suffered the way our parents' generation may have. And I pray that our kids never even come close to it. Sue Ditmore says, my in-laws were Japanese and put in also Greek. My wife and I are both Greek. Back in Greece, we had what we called the Queen's Camps. And during the Civil War in Greece, when the communists were fighting against the nationalists, they would take young boys from families and put them in camps because the communists would come down from the mountains and seize the boys in order to force them to fight for their side. So these Queen's Camps were basically voluntary internment camps, which weren't so voluntary. And my father-in-law remembers being taken from his family and put in one of these camps for his own good. It's these stories, man. But that was the backdrop of our life. So that's the shadow we grew up in. So sometimes when younger millennials will relate to us, I appreciate that, the fact that there's a way to relate, but there are things that are different about each generation. Calvin says, guess when my grandson hits middle school, Desert Storm will be in the history books? I don't know. History stopped recording stuff. I don't know about you guys, but when I was are you from Greece? I was born in the States. So my parents immigrated to the United States in 1965. I was born in 1970. Rob Rutherford says, joined Navy in 1986, 17 years old with parental consent. God bless you, man. Thank you for your service. Well, we grew up with that independent silhouette. So you got a generation of parents that either by themselves or as a result of the way they grew up had so much tragedy that the silent gen gave way to the boomers. And the baby boomers were probably the first generation that was able to internalize what they wanted. They became known as the me generation. Okay. So as we were raised by younger silent gen or older boomers, this was the generation that started to say, wait a minute, life is hard. I'm going to try to enjoy some of it. So if they weren't happy in marriage, they became the first generation that said, no, it's not a stigma to be divorced. I'm out of here. So I'm the first generation to get divorced en masse. We had a huge surge in divorces. Most of my friends. Hey, Sheila Bud, congratulations on your two-peat. On the trivia crack, I'm coming for you this week. You will not have a three-peat if I have anything to say about it. A lot of my friends started out in kindergarten with both parents in the house, and by high school, I would say probably half my friends' parents, my own included, were divorced. And there was a selfishness to that divorce, not judging good or bad selfish, just that their needs were greater than their kids' needs. Their needs were important. If it was better for them to be happy through divorce, they got divorced. And that's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it didn't happen before them. Divorce was rare before them. Moms getting jobs because our parents wanted more things. They became the first really commercially merchandised generation where two cars, households became a thing, where more than one TV in the house became a thing. And because they wanted more stuff and they wanted to go on vacations, they both needed to work, which again was new. I didn't mean to rant. I don't know what brought us on that, but it's this, all of our stories. James goes, sounds like my story too. It is. And that's what differentiates us from most boomers. When the baby boomers say, hey, we did it first. No, there's something uniquely different about Gen X. From 1965 to 1980, statistically speaking, first time moms were in the workforce. First time divorce went through the roof. First time kids at like 8 or 9 years old would be taking care of siblings who were 4 or 5 years old. It was the first and the last time because laws changed saying afterwards, no, you can't do that. Try doing that today. Oh, Tammy, that's funny. You must have seen my most recent video about raw dogging. I just popped that on before coming on live. We are different than any other gen. Julie says I was born in the 70s as well. My parents divorced as well. And our parents wanted stuff. And in a lot of, I'm not judging, my parents loved me immensely. My mom still, I think the last thing she thinks of before she goes to bed, I'm the love of her life. Of course, that makes sense. But they wanted stuff. I have a lot of friends whose parents went on vacations and they were the vacation for the parents. It was the vacation the parents wanted, not the vacation the kids wanted. And now vacations are worked around kids' soccer schedules, baseball schedules. Sometimes a vacation for a family might just be going to Virginia because that's where the daughter has a dance competition. It's about the kids. So when we were kids, it wasn't about us. When we were kids, it was about the adults. Now that we're seemingly adults, the irony of things is it's not about us now either, because now it's about the kids. My parents have been together 61 years. My mom tells a story. I came in crying. I only have one mommy and daddy, and friends were doing split holidays, so Santa came twice. With moms working, we had to raise ourselves and younger siblings. Exactly, Kat. Eli says, when we come to America, my mom was the only one working. My dad was wreaking medical exams and redoing residency. Ben says, I got to take my kids to Disney World, which is a dream when I was a kid. In July, I took my kids, my family, on my dream vacation. I did what I would have killed to have done as a kid, and that's go to Disney World. But again, this is what shaped us. I'm not complaining about it. And sometimes I'll get young kids in our videos, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, you guys keep complaining about your childhood." We wouldn't change a damn thing about our childhood, most of us, because all this seemingly bad stuff is what allowed us to play by ourselves. Yeah, Taylor. All this bad stuff is what made our friends so important in our lives. Hey, John McJunkin. All these things are what gave us a very unique, feral, free-range childhood, and we loved it. It worked perfectly for us, and it turned us into who we are. But I do like the irony. I think it's ironic that when we were kids, it wasn't about us because, hey, it's not about the kids. And now we're adults, and we're like, it's not about you because you're an adult. It's got to be about the kids. I'm like, well, that didn't work out the way I wanted it to. It is the childhood that made us. Couldn't have put it better myself, Wirehead. Was taking care of my baby brothers all day when I was 11, says Darlene. It was horrible and it was wonderful. Odana, it was what it was. I think it was wonderfully horrible or horribly wonderful. Both work at the same time. I've made videos talking about the inconsistencies. Hey, Tina Allen, the contradictions of our childhood. The fact that we were expected to act like little adults. And now that we're adults, we don't want to. We are the best parents. We know all and see all. Our kids might disagree. FAFO is why we're rock stars now. On that, I don't disagree. I love my childhood. We raised ourselves. I'd kill to do it all over again. You know what? In a very small, inconsequential way, I hope this is doing it all over again every week. Every time I make a video, a little small part of me goes back. It's been the most amazing journey of my life to do what I'm doing right now. It gave us character. Had a babysitting job at 12. I pulled up you can go to my social security go up your social security earnings. Mine goes back to when I was like 13. At 13 years old, I paid social security tax. Time for timer. I remember that orange, lemony, yellow looking guy. I think Gen X is the worst parents. Too far the other way? Tina, I'm going to disagree. First of all, I don't think any generation is exclusively all one thing. Yes, I think we did try to correct. Nah. My kids would say I did okay. I would love to go back even for just a day. Hanker for a hunk of cheese. I see that. Hey, Fred, 1970 over here too, Kale. I never let my kids have a cell until they were in high school. Paper out at 9. Arcade coin boy at 12. Wirehead, that was my dream job. I would have killed to have worn one of those belts with the quarter things on them. I thought that was the coolest job in the history of the world. To be able to be in Aladdin's castle doing that would be awesome. Hot Chick says, you remind us how much we need to not grow up. We've been growing up our entire lives. It's time. Listen, we pay our bills. We do our jobs. We show up when we're supposed to. We work usually after we can already leave. We don't take a lot of sick days. We don't take all our vacation time. As a whole, we're the most entrepreneurial generation to date. So we do a lot of adult stuff, okay? It's okay to play every now and then, too. And I think that's what we're doing. Younger kids say, I'm a good mom. My eldest will tell you I'm Sarah's teacher. Florida man says, how about being told not to swear as a kid because it was adult language, and now as an adult we're told swearing is immature? Contradiction. I will forever be a Toys R Us kid as well, Eric. William bringing in 1965, the oldest of us technical Xers. Was anyone a safety patrol? I remember in the 5th grade, you got to be nominated for either student council or safety patrol. Or you could get nominated for both, but you had to pick one. And I remember just being crushed because I picked student council and I instantly regretted it because I just would see the safety patrol person in the hallways and felt like they had all the power and I picked wrong. I would have done anything to have been able to get that belt. Sue says, I still won't swear in front of my parents. So I smoked until, I started smoking late. as a Gen Xer. I didn't really smoke in high school, didn't smoke in middle school, didn't do any of the smoking in the bathrooms, college. And back then you could smoke in the library. It was kind of cool. All the kids would hang out in the University of Buffalo. My UB hat. UB Bulls, go Bulls. So I started smoking in college. But hey, Rhonda Reed, good to see you, honey. Anyway, I quit smoking. But I smoked for the longest time. When I went back, my dad, for a while, I took over the restaurant for some reasons. And I wouldn't smoke in front of him. And I'm talking, I was like 25 years old and wouldn't smoke in front of my dad. And one day somebody had left behind cigarettes or something, and my dad looked at him and threw them at me. He goes, "Here, don't let them go to waste." And I'm like, "But they're not mine. I'm holding them for a friend." I mean, 25 years old, I panicked because my dad found out that I had a pack of cigarettes. He'd known I'd smoked them. If you're a smoker, you don't realize just how prevalent that smell is on you, that it's really not too hard to figure out that you've just been smoking. But yeah, yes, I am Laina. I am Greek as well. My mom is from Thessaloniki and my dad is from Florina. So yeah, I wouldn't smoke in front of my dad until he busted me and said, "Just do it." Yeah, he did know, hot chick. But I didn't want to smoke in front of him. I just thought it was disrespectful. My wife never smoked, but her friends would never smoke in front of their parents. Holding for a friend. Our kids still throw that shit at us. I found beer in my daughter's room, empty bottles. And she's like, "They're not mine." I go, "The empty bottles in your bedroom that used to be in our fridge, in the garage, those empty beer bottles somehow are not yours?" No. I went to a party and then I didn't drink, but they said, "Could somebody take the bottles and throw them away so that we don't get in trouble?" And I'm like, "So hiding them in your room was your version of throwing them away?" I'm holding them for a friend is the worst lie in the history of the world, and our kids are still trying to sell it to us. So never smoked, never drank, or cursed in front of my elders. Smoked from when I was 16 to 30. A lot of us smoked. Damn straight. Go Bills, Fuzzy. If I get names wrong or misread something, I got to tell you, the font on my YouTube is like this big. And although I have contact lenses that do their level best to correct both my farsighted and nearsightedness, sometimes it's not so easy. I got the same answer from my kid as to why she had bottles in her room. Isn't it funny? It's in the moment, it's the best they can come up with. Or I found a vape. Listen, if my kid drinks, she's 20 now. But between you and me and the fence post, just those of us in this close, didn't care. As long as she wasn't driving, doing some of the really stupid things we did, the drinking didn't bother me. Smoking, because I know how hard it was to quit, sends me through the roof. That was the one thing I said to them constantly. Just don't get hooked on nicotine. Don't buy into the vapes the way we bought into the cigarettes. Just don't. Stay away from it. My parents found my sister's beer in her closet. Funniest stuff ever. My mom dumped our booze down the drain if she found it. Smoked my first joint with my dad. That never happened to me. Boozy says smoking right now. You know, Boozy, and I read it, and I haven't smoked in almost 5 years, and instantly my chest tightens up because to this day, it's not a craving necessarily, but it's the memory of a craving. Cigarettes will do a number on you, man. You will want them forever. If you hate it and you still smoke, you just have to give yourself permission to quit and to realize that it's going to suck. It's going to suck really, really bad. It's going to suck worse than anything for a long time. And if that sounds like I'm saying something that makes you not want to quit, if you don't prepare yourself for that, then a week or 2 weeks in, when it still sucks, you're not going to get through it. You just have to know that it's going to suck and just let it suck until it doesn't suck. That's the best advice I can give you. I told myself, finally, I'm done. I've had enough. It was taking away so much from my time. I personally, and it sucked. James, I've used that line. And it sucked until it didn't suck. Quit for 17 weeks once. Yeah, the only thing, David, that worked for me was cold turkey. Everything else made it suck a little less for a lot longer until I just ran out of strength. Cold turkey, at least it was like ripping off a Band-Aid and I was done. Tracy says I never like the taste of alcohol. I gotta tell you, I'm not ashamed to admit it, but I like the fuzzy, fruity, tasty drinks. That's about it. John McJunkin says, gotta say, brother, you look way healthier now than even a year ago. John, I gotta tell you, I see pictures of me from 2015, which was 9 years ago now, and I can say the smoking did a number on my skin. It's nuts, but I mean, it makes sense. It's bad for you, and I appreciate it, man. My dad actually quit cold turkey, never smoked a cigarette again. My dad quit like that. Were our parents like the toughest people on the face of the planet? Like, I just remember thinking there was nothing my dad couldn't do. And one day, smoking 3 packs a day, one day all of a sudden I realized he had not had a cigarette in a while. I'm like, Dad, what's going on? I quit. That's it. That's it. He was just done. He was just done. And the fuck, my dad could work. When I make fun of kids' work ethic today, listen, our parents, at least my dad, worked. I mean, like work. He could get up at 5 in the morning and be gone and not come home from the restaurant until like 11 at night. And he'd come give us a kiss in bed and be gone before we got up in the morning. The man never had a sick day ever in his life. He once was taking a plate glass window from the heat outside into the bar next door, and it shattered and it sliced his. He had to have surgery. He was back to work 2 days later. I can't, nor will I want to ever work like that. But if the work ethic for my parents kind of did this to us, it's doing this to our kids. And I know there's some are going to be like my Gen Z kid. They're the exception, and that's awesome. But statistically speaking, our kids aren't doing so well. Fired record numbers, quitting in record numbers. It ain't good. Let's be 50s. Your teeth are top-notch 20s teeth. I never drank or smoked, but I can cuss like a sailor. My dad quit after they put him in a hospital with a tracheal. That would do it. Backwards on the third seat in a station wagon. So many of us, and those who didn't wish they could. Same as the truck, man. There was nothing cooler than 8 or 9 of us kids in the back of a neighbor's pickup truck going somewhere. That was the best. Yeah, I don't like the taste of most alcohol either, even beer, unless, once in a while. I like the effects of alcohol. I like being drunk. I think it's fun. I don't do it all the time because that's trouble. But once in a while, I really do. When I went to Buffalo for my trip, dude, I was drunk for 3 days. It was also, now, mind you, that was July, and I haven't had a drink since. So I don't drink often, but I was doing shots of Crown and a beer in every bar we went to. I drank left and right. And like I said, since then, I haven't had a single drink. So I don't do it often, but I enjoy it. Beer on a hot summer day after mowing the lawn. See, but I'm like, ooh, Diet Coke. Bridget Brown, $5. Another great Sunday chat. Thank you for the trip down memory lane. Love you, Bridget. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Different ways of contributing to the page. I mention this towards the end every time on YouTube. There's a thing called Super Chat, and you can just blow up your chat and donate any kind of money you want to. No one ever has to do anything, but it's very much appreciated. You can also join over on YouTube, and joining is a membership that Wire had just gifted, which just allows you to play with different icons, and I see your chat a lot better on my end because it is highlighted as a member. That's YouTube. On Facebook, you guys can subscribe, which is the word for normal people on YouTube. But on Facebook, it's special. There's a link right on this chat saying subscribe to get exclusive benefits. And the best benefit is you guys have access to a private Facebook page. Now, I know that doesn't sound like incredible, but it's really cool because unlike my regular page, you guys can post on that page. So I've got people that'll post memes or put up questions or just chat with me. Hot Chick, thank you so much for gifting a membership. So on Facebook, if you guys feel like donating 99 cents a month, please subscribe. It helps me out in mass, in the aggregate. It could be helpful for me. But the coolest part about it is I really want to see that private page grow. I want to see more and more of your content because it helps me also come up with content. Thank you, Sue Ditmore. Says, I love the subscriber page. A lot of what sparks my memory is watching what the hundreds of you in there put out there, and then I make content based on it. So I really appreciate it. Night, Millie. And then finally, last thing is, if you just want a free way to help support the page, the Buffalo Bills did win. We won by a last-second field goal. If you want a free way to support the page, play Trivia Crack. So on my link tree, which is in my bio everywhere, there's a link. On my Facebook page, every Sunday night, I stick and pin a post. Go play. Download the app if you haven't already. Play every week, 3 different rounds, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday nights, and they split ad revenue with me. So it doesn't cost anything, but it helps me keep the page going because there are costs associated with stuff. So that's it. Trying to give you ideas, John, for your shorts. I appreciate it, guys. I average between 3 to 5 posts a day, every single day. And I hope I'm doing a good job. Drove up to my own hometown in Rome and Utica, New York. Wanted to say, I know a lot changes, bud, and I know it usually changes for the worst. Hopefully my content isn't repetitive. I try very hard to lean into 54 years of experiences and make sure that I plan so that it doesn't keep repeating the same stuff over and over again. That is something I absolutely have seen on other pages, and I'm desperate not to have it happen to mine. And you guys subscribing and throwing content from your experiences on those pages really does help. You can also email me in that bio link. There's also an email address. Throw whatever you want at me. I'm cool with it. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks again, John. You are the wind beneath our Gen X wings. Love you, Doreen. So schedule for the week. Tuesday night, we're not doing trivia on YouTube because of the election, but I will go live Tuesday night. I'm going to go live from the bar. I'm going to probably discuss the election in abstract. Any pop-ups around Charlotte? One might be coming, Jennifer, very, very soon. Keep looking for that. But yeah, Tuesday I might go live on YouTube, just in abstract, talking about the election, talking about elections we experienced growing up, in abstract. Not going to talk politics, not going to argue with anybody, but just going to go live together and talk about what's going on. And then Friday, we will have our 3-View Mirror podcast, which will go live from my YouTube page Friday at 5:30, and then be back here again on Sunday. What time Tuesday? Probably 7 p.m.-ish Eastern Standard Time. Who else is scared of this election? Eric, I mean, I'm not scared of anything. I will say I don't do politics. I won't engage in political conversation because it is divisive, and I focus on what unites us. But I will tell you, as far as being scared of an election, don't be afraid of anything, because if anything can cost us our democracy, then we don't deserve it in the first place. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everybody's allowed to have their perspective based on their experiences. Just go vote your heart, vote your conscience, and whatever it is. All good. Exactly, Hellraiser. It is what it is, and we'll be fine. I promise you. Gen Xers, don't get scared. Listen, we survived. We'll be fine. That's all I got. Love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Thanks to those that subscribed tonight. Thank you again for the donations. Go play Trivia Crack. Go Bills. We are the Mallrats, Dreamweaver. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you all soon. Peace. Favorite Kool-Aid flavor? Unpopular opinion, but grape, Angel. And out.